together with me right now for the scorecard is the Director for National Team in the Philippine Football Federation, Freddy Gonzalez. Freddy, hello, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation, and welcome to the scorecard.
Anytime.
All right, so let's deep dive into this interview already. I want to ask you first, what made you take on the role as the Director for National Teams for the PFF, and what exactly is this role about?
Well, I kind of felt it was my way to give back to football and to help. I came through the system here in the Philippines, and I was part of the national team back in the day when we were struggling to get anything, to get games, to get funding. And so when John Gutierrez, who's an old friend of mine from San Agustin, asked me to come on board, I felt I'd be more effective by doing this job instead of the other jobs within the PFF. So that's what I ended up deciding to do, and I've been enjoying it ever since. And I feel just like, we can set like really a great standard to be able to lift the national team up to not just Asian standards, but worldwide standards as well.
Now, as we all know, the Philippines is currently in the middle of a tournament called the ASEAN Mitsubishi Electric Cup. And what I've been reading on the internet was, there are a lot of netizens that actually think that this is the best Philippine team that we have sent on an international stage. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, we're not complete, that's for sure. A lot of our players weren't released by their clubs because it doesn't fall on a FIFA match window.
Right.
So the clubs aren't obliged to release their players, right, during this time. But it is a very strong team. It's a young team. With this current team we have, we can definitely win the competition. And so we believe in these guys and really think that they can do it. So it's always going to be tough against the regional opponents, but these guys can do it. They can handle it.
So following the draws we had, especially the past two games against Myanmar and Laos, what are you happy about specifically in regards to the team's performance, and what else could have been done to get that win? Because it was a draw, but to get
what we're happy about is we're creating a lot of chances. Unfortunately, the ball's just kind of not bouncing our way right now. It's not like our attempts aren't going in, but that will come. This sometimes happens. In sports, football, basketball, where things just aren't going your way. But the fact that we're creating a lot of chances is a good sign. Second thing is the possession. We're pretty much dominating possession in both games. So, the players are comfortable on the ball, want the ball all the time, and we're moving the ball around a lot better. We can do it quicker, but, those are two good signs. Another good sign is the resilience that the players are showing. Like, we've gone down 1-0 in both games, and and we shouldn't have, but that's football, it happens. And they've had the resilience to come back. So those are, in my opinion, the three good signs. And I think it's just a matter of time before, the goals start going in and, we start scoring.
Right. So speaking of creating opportunities, as you've mentioned on the field, in those games, specifically those two games, the Philippine team had better statistics actually in terms of possessions and shots on target, but we still fell to a draw. So what do you think was missing?
I think the frustration of not being able to score.
Okay.
And what ends up happening sometimes is that you lose a little bit of focus, you get frustrated.
So all mental.
Yeah, it starts to come and hit the players mentally, and then those kind of moments where mistakes happen. And in the two games that we had, it's that little mistake that happened that we allowed them to score goals. And so it's just about, we the first 30 minutes especially, we should have won both games within the first 30 minutes. And so I think, in this next few games, that when that happens, these guys, mentally they'll be more prepared because it's tougher opponents. So it's not necessarily that we're going to dominate outright from the beginning. It's probably gonna be more of a back and forth game. But having had the experience of the two games and like going down and then coming back, and the frustration that these guys have been dealing with the past two games, I think they're gonna let that all out the next two games, and especially the next game against Vietnam, because it's a home game. So we're gonna have the home fans, and so these guys are definitely gonna wanna show everybody that they can score, in the first half and try to kill off the game,
Yeah, and I mean the momentum is already there, so it's definitely it's gonna take time for sure. But in terms of now that we're talking about the premise of keeping your mental game strong in a game, how do you usually train the team to make them mentally sharp, especially during high pressure games like this?
Well, a lot of that training, is also individual. It's a team sport, but especially the mental side of it has to be done on an individual level. And, each player is different, so you handle each player, in different ways. And so Coach Albert is, really good about doing that and speaking to players individually and like talking to them as a group. So I think, with what he's been telling them, he's done a great job. And these guys really want to score. They've been dying. It's not they're more frustrated than we are, than the fans are. So it's something that these guys, they're experienced professionals, so they know how to deal with that. And I think they'll really show it the next couple of games.
All right, just out of curiosity, Sir Freddy, what do you think does the Freddy?
Yeah.
What do you think does the Philippine team have that the other teams don't?
Well, I think we have a lot of creative players. We have a lot of players from different football backgrounds as well. So it's hard for teams to deal with our squad, because we can come at them from many different angles and different ways. So, and the creativity in the team is really strong. A lot of times, teams can act kind of like robotic and follow just tactics to a T and can't like improvise. And we have a lot of players that can actually improvise and really be creative when they get stuck in like when they're starting to get frustrated or we're suffering on the field, right? And you saw that in the last two games, right? So we had to find a way to. I mean, we were going for the win, but we had to find a way to score, and these guys, they were able to find that, and I think that's where we can hurt a lot of teams, is that we can come at them from many different ways, and each of the guys brings their own kind of flavor to the team. So it's nice to see, and it's a learning process. I mean, Coach Albert's been here for just a few games, so, and the philosophy and system he put in place takes time to learn and takes time to adapt, right? It won't happen overnight, and it won't happen over 5-6 games. It's going to happen over a year, maybe 2 years, right? So, it's a process.
A journey.
Exactly.
Of patience also.
Of patience, and we have a lot of young players, a lot of newer players that will be coming in soon as well. So it's about, getting everybody on the same page. But the group is really great. Everybody is, gets along really well, and it's just nice to see, the dynamic among the team,
So I want to dive deeper into this, because I know that most of your players in the team actually come from different parts of the world.
Correct, yeah.
And obviously they don't get to train together physically, right? But how do you still encourage, that team dynamic, that team bonding together, even if they're so far apart?
So it's interesting, that we do have a number of players that play, in the U.S., in Norway, and Southeast Asia, and all over Croatia and whatnot. And a lot of them have already played with each other before. But the new guys coming in, because they're already at a very high level, they can integrate themselves into the system really well, because they know already how to play that kind of way. So, and the players that we are going to keep bringing in are, of a really high level. So it's not going to be hard for them to integrate. It's more, the personality side, like off the field, where sometimes you have to worry about will they fit in with the group, will they not. But so far, everybody's been great, and this group's been really together, over the last few months. That we like guys like Bjorn. Kristensen have come in and just integrated himself in the group, gets along well with everybody. So it's a good group of guys, and so far so good.
Okay, now what can we expect from the team coming to the game this Wednesday against Vietnam?
Well, I think you're going to see them be very aggressive from the start. They're going to want to stamp their authority on the game quickly, but again, Vietnam's no pushover. They're going to be they've been scouting us already. They know what I wouldn't say necessarily that they know what to expect, but they're going to know how we want to play. And so it's just up to the guys in the end to create those chances, take the chances, and control Vietnam's counterattacks, and make sure that we have no lapses. They're gonna have to be in full concentration for that game, because we're already at the next step where you're playing the top tier in ASEAN, right, with Vietnam and Indonesia. So we're getting to that point in the tournament where every game now is really tough, so no more easy games. So these guys will be ready. I'm confident.
I'm sure they are. They look ready also.
Yeah.
All right, so my last question, Freddy, is any word of advice for the players today on your team?
The only advice I can give them is just to be creative, play their game. These guys are fantastic players. They know how to play the system of Coach Albert. They just should have the confidence in themselves and the belief in themselves that they can win the next two games and that we can get to the semifinals, because we have that belief in this team, and so we just need them to see it and believe in themselves and be able to execute during the games.
I love that. That's a team manager right there. All right. Thank you, Freddy.
Thank you so much.